Hello, and welcome to Region Locked. Nintendo's Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening was a widely praised action-adventure title for the Game Boy. The game's engine, however, was not an original creation. It was actually taken from a Nintendo title made a year earlier. Known in Japan as Keiru no Tame ni Kane wa Naru, translated as For the Frog the Bell Tolls, the game shares several similarities with Link's Awakening. Due to the game never having an official English release, its name is disputed. Despite its literal translation, Masahiro Sakurai referred to the game as The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls during development of Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS. This uncertainty likely stems from the game's name being a reference to the Ernest Hemingway novel For Whom the Bell Tolls. Whatever its name may be, we're more interested in the game itself and why it never came to the West. If you've ever played Link's Awakening, you'll have a fairly good idea of how this title works, but there are some key differences. The game is a standard action-adventure RPG that utilises a top-down perspective. While outside of dungeons and caves, the player can navigate the world and explore various villages, towns, open plains, and other places of the same ilk. Enemies are visible on the game's map, and battles will begin once the player physically bumps into them. Unlike Zelda, the game's battles conduct themselves, and the characters take turns throwing hits until one dies. The player's performance is based on their stats, which can be improved by collecting stat boost items dotted throughout the game. Once in a dungeon, cave, or some other adventure segment, the game turns from a top-down perspective to a side-scrolling perspective. This gives the player the ability to jump and crouch, and has them navigate stages to complete tasks. This is similar to Link's Awakening, though an item isn't required for the prince to jump. The game's plot follows the protagonist, the Prince of the Sablé Kingdom, and his friend Richard, the Prince of the Custard Kingdom. They've shared a friendly rivalry from a young age, often competing in various fields. They're evenly matched in every way, except when it comes to fencing, where Richard holds the upper hand. While fencing together, a message is received from the neighbouring kingdom of Millfoyer. The evil King Delarin has captured the beautiful Princess Tiramisu and begun the invasion of the Millfoyer Kingdom. Richard takes a boat and rushes towards the kingdom, abandoning the Sablé Prince, forcing him to buy a boat with his plentiful supply of money. Whilst working his way across the island in an attempt to catch up with Richard, both are transformed into frogs. As the game goes on, the player has the ability to transform into a human by eating a joy apple, or turn into a frog by falling into a body of water, and turn into a snake by eating a snake egg. Each form has their own benefits and drawbacks, such as snakes being able to crawl through narrow tunnels but being unable to fight. The frog form is capable of jumping large gaps, but like the snake, cannot fight. As a human, the prince is able to fight enemies and use items, but is more restricted in the overworld. The game is relatively basic in nature, with only dungeons providing any real strategy or skill. Platforming can be somewhat tricky in places, and the player must memorize the stage. On the overworld, fights often result in not being able to kill something. Since battles play out automatically based on stats, the player must explore enough to find items that improve the stats. Despite a lack of localization, the title has a small cult following in the West due to its unique story and developer pedigree. The game has made several appearances outside of Japan and was first referenced heavily in The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, most prominently in the character of Richard, who uses the same sprite as Prince Richard. His villa also has several frogs, and his theme music is the overworld theme from The Frog for Whom the Bell Tolls. Wario Land 4 features an appearance from the Dr. Aerostein, known as Dr. Nitwit in the game's fan translation, and the Prince of Sablé appears as a sticker in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, as well as being an assist trophy in Super Smash Bros. For 3DS and Wii U. There was an unofficial translation created by Ryan BGSTL in 2011, which does a wonderful job of translating the game and its humour into English. There is even an attempt by romhacking.net user Rotuz to convert the game into colour. Funnily enough, Nintendo had a similar idea back in 2002. Unseen64 reports that 10 years after the game's initial release, Nintendo announced a Game Boy Color remake of the game, only for it to be cancelled soon after. The reason for its cancellation was likely due to the Game Boy Advance's impending release. The reason the original game wasn't released in the West has never been stated. There are, however, a few possibilities. The game's humour may have been difficult to translate for Western audiences, as it makes many references to Japanese culture and places. However, this seems to have been handled well in the fan translation. For example, in the original Japanese game, one of the towns is called Port Shimizu. This is a pun on seawater, as well as a reference to the port town with a similar name, Shimizu. In the English fan translation, the city is named Port Saltwater, which removed the reference to the Japanese town, but kept the seawater theme. The battle system is also unconventional and may have been too experimental for Western audiences. The game was also a new franchise for Nintendo and a genre that they've never really tackled on a handheld before. It's possible that Nintendo decided against releasing the game with so many potential localization issues, and put the resources into more financially sound projects. We'd like to take a moment to thank Loot Crate for sponsoring our videos. Without their help, we wouldn't be able to make this series, so good on them. If you don't know who they are, consider subscribing to Loot Crate's new service, Loot Gaming. Loot Gaming is a monthly subscription service that delivers a box of gaming merch to your door. Each month, the crate's theme changes and all the loot relates to that theme. December's theme is Space, and is packed with merch from Mass Effect, Andromeda, Destiny, Ratchet & Clank, XCOM 2, and more. A subscription is less than $25 per month, and crates are guaranteed to have a value of $60 or more. Loot Crate is also offering DidYouKnowGaming viewers 10% off for your subscription. So if you like original gaming collectibles and want to support DidYouKnowGaming and Region Locked, head over to lootcrate.com/DYKG3 and enter the code DYKG3 for 10% off any new subscription. You can get there by clicking the link below. If you enjoyed this classic Nintendo game, maybe you'd be interested in a Japan-exclusive Famicom Disk System title, The Mysterious Murasame Castle. Click the annotation on screen to check it out. If you enjoyed this video, please do us a favor and give us a like on YouTube, and maybe consider subscribing to keep up with future videos. My name has been Greg, and this has been Region Locked. We'll be streaming For the Frog the Bell Tolls over on Twitch after this video has gone live. If you're interested, the link is in the description below. If this video has been out for a while, we're likely not streaming anymore, but why not follow us on Twitch and Twitter at the VG Resource to keep up with our future streams. And we'll be streaming in your face. Alright.